Hello, in this session we'll cover how to run descriptive statistics and correlations in Jamovi, and then how to move those tables that Jamovi creates into a results section and format them in APA format. This isn't the data set from your lab because I don't want to give you the answers. This is another correlation data set from a reading and grades experiment that I did with college students in Intro Psych. I'd also like to show you in here how to describe your data in those first few sentences of the results section and how to describe your data in a table caption. So the first thing we'll want is descriptive statistics. I'm not going to use all the variables in here, I'm just going to use some. So in Explore Descriptives, I want to look at what predicts GPA in this. So I'm taking a student's GPA and I'll put it in first. And the variables I'm going to use to predict GPA are, let's pull the obvious ones. We'll pull their ACT math, we'll pull their ACT reading scores, and these were from when they graduated from high school. It's from their college entrance records. And then I'll also want a few reading variables. So I'm going to take raw word identification, which is the number of words they can read correctly on a standardized test, and I'll take their vocabulary, which is raw word comprehension. And we're keeping it small, so let's leave it at just that. And notice there's a lot of information in here. Missing, mean, median, standard deviation, minimum, maximum. What I'm going to do here under statistics is I'm going to trim that down some. We don't want n, we don't want missing, we don't really want the median. And we can leave it at that. So we have mean, standard deviation, minimum, and maximum. So I'll take this, right-click, and copy it. I'll go straight into my results section, hit Control-Enter to force a page break, and I'll paste it down here. So it's on its own page, Table 1. First thing I'm going to do is turn this table title into something that's more informative. So that's my table title. It's going to go in italics. And under paragraph format, I'm going to change my line spacing to double because tables should be double spaced. The last thing is I'm going to make my number of decimals in each row consistent. Notice how standard deviation is sometimes 3 and sometimes 2. I'll make that 0.69. So everything has a consistent number of decimals across the rows. So now I need to describe what I did, which is that so scores were GPA, ACT scores, and 2 measures of reading. Right. So I'll describe that So I'm first describing what the data is, and this should all be double spaced, but it doesn't fit on the screen as pretty, so I'll double space it when I'm done. Well, we can double space it now. And again, this is the paragraph menu, and you can see here at line spacing, double for everything after I highlight it all. Right. So the first thing I'm doing is explaining what the scores were. So GPA, 2 of their ACT scores, 2 measures of reading performance, and I explain the scale. The reading measures were raw scores, which were the number of items correct, and the ACT scores were scaled. Descriptive. Statistics are presented in Table 1. Table has a capital T, so I'm explaining what the scores were and then where you can find them. Table 1's in a separate page, but I'm writing about it here. And it's table with a capital T. A table is any organized group of numbers typed. A figure is a graph. So those are So that's the descriptive statistics. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to run some correlations. Under regression, I'll ask for a correlation matrix, and I'm going to put the same variables in the same order. So I'll take GPA, which is what I'm trying to predict, and I'll first take ACT Math, ACT Reading, and then I'll want raw word ID, and raw word comprehension. That's the correlation matrix. And again, I'm going to right-click on it and copy the table. Then I'll go into Microsoft Word, go to the end of the document, Control-Enter for a fresh page, and I'll paste it exactly as it was. This is close to APA format. Again, we need some explanation here. So this is going to be Table 2, correlation matrix, for tell the reader what's in their correlation matrix for students in the study of GPA predictors. Now, we didn't have to change the number of decimals on here. That goes in bold, that goes in italics. So there's now a caption describing what's in the table. So there's the correlation matrix. Now we'll need to write about it. And if we look at what's correlated with GPA, we can see the biggest ones on there, what we want your reader to notice. So we'll say that correlations are presented in Table 2. And what you want the reader to notice is the 2 strongest predictors were ACT Math and these reading men. Well, ACT Math is high, and it's significant, 0.402, less than 0.001. You can see word identification and word comprehension, the number of words they can read correctly, and the number of words they knew the meanings of were correlated 0.3, but ACT reading comprehension wasn't correlated. Notice it's 0.088 is the value of R, and the p-value is 0.422. So we need to say something about that. So we would say that what kind of correlation we can say Pearson correlation is presented in Table 2. What you want your reader to notice. Notice that And we'll keep it simple. You don't want to repeat what's in the table because your reader can see it, but you want to point out what's interesting. Right? What's interesting is that ACT reading was not significantly correlated with GPA, and the other measures were. So let's review. In the results section for a correlation matrix, the first thing you do is you run descriptive statistics in Jamovi. When you right-click on this, you can copy it. Paste it into your manuscript as its own page at the end of your manuscript. Give it a title that's meaningful. Make sure the decimal places are consistent throughout your table. Then, in your paragraph and results, explain what the scores were, and then reference the table. Tell your reader that these descriptives are presented in Table 1. The next thing we did is we ran a correlation. Copied the table, pasted it in as Table 2, and then told the reader that Pearson correlations are presented in Table 2. And finally, we said something about the correlations. Right? We asked the reader to notice which one was not significant and which ones were. And we were careful not to repeat any of the numbers out of the correlation table, because if someone wants those, they can just look at the table. As a writer, you're trying to lead them through it. So that's how to put descriptives and correlations into a results section.